get, SK?
Why not us, Charlie?
Today, live from the Pinecrest Inn, it's the Smylie Show. So long, everybody.
This is the Smylie Show.
Welcome back to the Smylie Show, where Smylie and I are sitting here behind the 9th hole at PGA National, not so far from the 18th hole, where we're just trying to process what we just witnessed here of how Nico Echavarria won this golf tournament with the way that Shane Lowry was playing. You were walking with Nico, and let's just start processing this thing together because Shane Lowry goes birdie 9, eagle 10, birdies the 12th and 13th, and then take us through, Smylie, your perspective being out in the course of Nico being a hole ahead of Shane and just everything that happens in the Bear Trap. The Bear Trap delivered today in a huge way.
I think you need to start with the weather forecast. So today is a forecast that we have not seen the entire week. So the winds were out of the east-northeast. And for the most part, when you get a north wind out of PGA National, I think the golf course plays easier, but where it does not play easier is the Bear Trap, 15, 16, and 17. And where they had the hole locations cut today, back right at 15, back left on the plateau at 16, and then on the edge at the 17th hole. Especially with those wind directions, I just felt like it was going to come down to who can execute on the Bear Trap was going to win this golf tournament. But after Shane Lowry hit the green on the 15th hole, I felt like it was over. I really felt like it was over. Nico, walking with him, he felt like he had to do something, but it never was going to happen unless he got help. After Shane Lowry hits it in the water at the 16th hole off the tee, I couldn't believe it, because let's just talk about the tee shot at 16. It's a placement tee shot, one where you're hitting a long iron, something that, you can hit it down the left rough. And a lot of players do hit in the left rough, because guess what? Today, the 16th hole is not a birdie hole. You don't have to challenge the right side. For a guy that's got a 3-shot lead, you have the entire continent to the left. So in that situation, to hit that shot, I can't even describe to you how bad it was. And I know what it feels like to play PGA National. I know how difficult it is to hit the shots, but that was just unfortunate for Shane that he wasn't able to at least put something in play, because I think he wins the golf tournament no problem, really. Might have to make some pars at 17 and 18, but as soon as you hit that shot at 16, your world starts spinning.
And he makes double there, and then he, of course, goes to 17.
A good double.
Still needed to make a 4 or 5 footer to convert that double bogey. And then at that point, that puts him one shot ahead of Nico Echavarria. He's 17 under on the 17th tee. Nico is 16 under, and he arrives at 17th tee, and what he doesn't see is Nico, and you shared a great anecdote in the broadcast of something that Taylor Moore said to his caddy, where Nico Echavarria was feet away from finding the water at the par 3 17th, but instead gives himself an amazing birdie look there.
Yes, just watching this golf ball in the air, you wouldn't believe how close this was. I mean, it was right on the edge. It could not be any more right, and he had no much more room behind him as far as just distance and covering it. But the shot that he hit, it's just this beautiful high cut. And what I did mention on the broadcast was that Taylor Moore, right before Nico hit, told his caddy, he said, watch this. He's going to try to cut a 7-iron in there and make 2. And he said, he's watched him do it in college. Like, it's just the way he plays. But I give a lot of credit to Nico for just the way in which he played golf this week at PGA National. No bogeys on the weekend, and I think he only had 3 for the week. Bogey avoidance, such a key stat at this golf course, keeping the big numbers off the card. He was a little inaccurate with the driver today, had some left misses, but I felt like the rough wasn't high enough to where he got punished for those misses, and honestly got some good breaks along the way. And you need good breaks to win. You need a guy like Shane Lowry, who looks like he's running away with it, to give you to throw you a bone out there. And luckily for him, when opportunity presented itself, he attacked and took advantage of it. And now he's sitting here as a 3-time PGA Tour winner, where if you'd have told me walking down the 16th fairway that Nico was going to win, and not only win, but win by 2 and not without a playoff, I would have said, what happened to Shane? Did stomach bug get him? Like back at 15? Just bizarre.
Well, and to continue that storyline a little bit, I believe it was maybe Brad Fax on the broadcast that said, Nico had a 10-footer there at 17. It would have been good for 15 because he ran that thing straight in the heart, fist pumped it.
Dead straight up the hill.
And then Shane, and I've forgotten who it was who missed. I mean, there was a ball minutes earlier. I caught it out of the corner of my eye.
Stinger hit it out of bounds.
Stinger hit it. He covered the whole water.
I got that
in front of someone's.
We're not judging. It was totally in play today. Shane almost did it too.
But I think it underscores, and that's exactly right. It underscores your point about the wind direction and the bear trap and that awesome. Big right miss. And then having to go and hit a wedge in that drop zone and then making double again. So back-to-back doubles and needing to hole out a bunker shot on 18 to force a playoff. Almost did it.
You know what's interesting, too, is Nico, the way he gets to celebrate is that he has a 7:10 tee time tomorrow at Seminole.
That's right. We can review. I got the tee sheet here. We can review that Seminole Pro member tee sheet, but he's going off early amongst a number of others who are trying to get to Orlando for the Arnold Palmer Invitational. But I just – and we can talk more about Nico here, but man, do I feel for Shane Lowry, a guy here that, I mean, this was obviously his own doing, but remember back 2022 where he nearly wins that golf tournament and then just gets hit with a deluge of rain on the 18th hole that changes the way he has to play that hole. Sepp Straka goes on to win. He has played, I mean, there was a stat here from the PGA Tour. He's played better here than probably anybody else in the past 4 or 5 years.
He's had 4 top 11s. He's had 3 top 5s. He's had that runner-up finish that you talked about. One that comes to mind was 2 years ago. Starts the day with a 54-hole lead. Have to come back on Monday. Starts his day at the 6th hole. Austin Eckroat ends up winning. And then you go back to the year that Sepp Straka won, and Shane Lowry sitting in the fairway gets hit by that rainstorm and didn't have enough to get to the green. I actually was texting with Sepp on 16. It's funny. Sepp had said, I love this golf course. I love watching this event. And this is before Sepp had hit it Shane had hit it in the water. And he's like, people just don't realize how difficult these shots are coming down the stretch. And, he was applauding us, just saying how difficult they were. And then literally moments later, Shane Lowry hits it in the water on 16, right before I texted him saying that the only way Shane isn't winning this golf tournament is if a storm doesn't roll through on him on 18. And obviously Sepp laughed, but minutes later, I just said, oh my gosh. And he said the same thing back. He's like, it's the bear trap, man. It giveth and taketh.
Well, and I wonder, just as we expand about the event at large of, we saw a field this year. We had an amazing and exciting finish, which is fantastic for the event and for the PGA Tour. But we saw a number of names pull out of this event the last minute heading into this week. And the field strength is, this used to be, I mean, shoot, I remember our second episode on the show hearing Sam Burns tell a story about playing with Tiger Woods in this event. You think about the stature that this is held. It should be an event where you draw, really the best in the world, because so many of them live here in the area in Jupiter and surrounding areas. And so I just wonder, what you think about its place in the schedule and the difficulty it presents. And I think explain to people, I had so many people ask this weekend, why is it where it is? And it's like, well, look at that Florida swing. You got to go play Bay Hill. You got to go play TPC Sawgrass. You got to go play Innisbrook at Copperhead. And then you're figuring out what you're going to do to tune up for the Masters with 2 Texas events. And you're coming off a difficult, West Coast swing where the last 2 were signature events in Pebble Beach and Rib. And I feel like a lot of the way this event has maybe suffered in terms of field quality or support is just due to its spot in the schedule. I mean, is there a path to sort of a revival? Because this, I mean, it was scintillating, really exciting golf. And imagine if you have this with a field that has some of the best players in the world in it.
Yeah, I think they've got a bunch of issues, right? Like where it is on the schedule is the first spot. But they've tried to attract people that live in this area, pros that live in Jupiter. In the last couple of years, what they tried to do was to take the air out of the gym at PGA National and make it play easier. And what they realized, the PGA Tour realized, is that it really didn't work. It didn't really attract more guys to play. And honestly, it just strengthened the argument of we want to see PGA National play the way that it should. I think the fans spoke up at least. And this year they tried to get back a little bit more to that blueprint. Maybe not quite as hard as it used to be, but there were moments this week when the greens got crusty and firm and the rough was slightly up. It was 3 inches and got up to about 4 today. And there were some spots where, there were some bad lies, but not nearly as bad as they used to be, but enough to at least put some doubt in some players' minds about hitting in the rough. I still feel like the rough could be much more, or you could go the Bermuda route, but that's
how do you feel about the overseed? I mean,
I like it. It's the rough just needs to be higher.
Michigan at a 57% chance right now, followed by Arizona, Duke, and Houston. Here's the interesting caveat, Joe, for Michigan, who's the favorite right now. On February the 8th at 5 a.m., they were trading at 40%. Today, 57%. People like themselves some Michigan here.
Well, Donnie, exactly, because Michigan, it just vaulted themselves to number one in the AP poll.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it. Yeah. Don't you think so?
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on an island. We saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers record was better, but he's still James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Great. Yes, it makes the play fun. It looks green, looks great on TV, but this is a PGA National decision. It's the PGA Tour, of course, can recommend what the PGA National does, but they like it overseeded for the tournament, but also throughout the year. But yeah, it's an incredible venue, and when we talk about venues on the PGA Tour, when you and I ranked our favorites, PGA National was in the top 5 for me, and I think a lot of people are like, really? I'm like, yes. The shots that you have to hit are just so high level, and you either can do it or you can't do it. And it requires guts. It requires execution at the highest level. And I think that is what the PGA Tour is about, is seeing these players in high leverage positions have to be able to go and hit the shots. And today, I think with Shane Lowry, I think we need to continue this discussion with Shane, because let's go back to January. And Shane Lowry is in Dubai, has a chance to win the golf tournament in Dubai by birdie in the last hole. Par gets him into a playoff, makes double bogey. He's now just converted a 54-hole lead 1 of 6 times, and has won 3 PGA Tour events, one with Rory McIlroy. That's most recent. Obviously, the most recent individual one he won was 2019 at the Open Championship.
It's the last time he converted a 54-hole lead,
but
right? And the only time he converted a 54-hole lead.
It's definitely something now that's going to be the monkey on his back. And I think, when it comes to closing golf tournaments, Shane Lowry had the most important putt last September to secure the points. So to say that he can't do it is quite unfair. But we also have to look at what we've seen and say, hey, there seems to be a pattern here.
Well, it's obviously a different player, a different situation, but it reminds me in some ways of conversations we had last year about Tommy Fleetwood before he wins the Tour Championship, simply in that we've seen him play elite golf, win in high-pressure situations when he's playing team golf at the Ryder Cup. And it just so happened that he kept coming up short in all these stroke play situations on tour and in majors. And then he has that breakthrough, and then he goes and wins on the DP World Tour. And I think, our concerns or the conversations we're having around Tommy Fleetwood as a closer have been quelled, at least for the moment. I think for Shane, he suffers from, the list of events we just read, where it's now, six times, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and only converted one of them. And so that's not going to go away until you eventually do convert one of those things. But it is a really, if you're playing most any other place on tour except for PGA National, where you had to hit those shots in the bear trap coming down the stretch, he probably is hoisting a trophy right now.
But the only thing that you can attribute those swings to, for a guy who's typically one of the most accurate drivers of the golf ball, one of the best iron players in the game, his approach to the green stats last year, he's third. So we're talking about a player that really his strengths should be magnified down the stretch at the PGA National, and the only thing you can contribute all that to is just pressure, man.
Yeah, a lot of pressure and a place that provides that in spades. Now let's talk about Nico a little bit, because you're looking at he's missed 4 cuts this year. Now, he did have a top 10 at the AT&T. He finished tied for 8th, but I don't think many saw this coming. And he gets off to a hot start this week. He and Smotherman are the two kind of pace setters on Thursday, and just kind of stays in and around it. And then, you talked about on the broadcast his putting, and we saw that come up clutch on 17 with that birdie make to really kind of flip the script on Shane standing on the tee box there. What does this do to kind of set up the rest of the season for him? He most recently won the 2024 Bay Current Classic, won, an opposite field event in Puerto Rico in 2023. And this event is, as we mentioned, is, you don't have a Scotty Scheffler or Rory McIlroy in the field, but getting it done here, with a guy who's a Ryder Cupper and Shane Lowry as your kind of main opponent, that's something for a guy like Nico Echavarria.
You talked to Carl Banks after the round. You asked if I saw it coming. Well, he apparently did, because he felt like there was a good chance that he could win this week. So obviously felt good about his game. I actually had an extended conversation with him earlier in the week on Monday. And some of the questions I was asking Nico, mainly about a player that had a rookie season like he did, which if you can go look at his results, he missed 23 cuts in his rookie season. He missed 12 straight at one point. And he did win. He won in Puerto Rico, but without that win, he was going back to the Korn Ferry Tour. And what it allowed him to do was to have an additional 2 years to improve on his game. And that experience and not have the pressure of losing your tour card helps a young player be able to go and play all these different PGA Tour golf courses, but also improve in areas in which he should. So when you look at his statistics, he's gradually gotten better every single year. And you've seen spurts in which his iron game has been really top end. You go back to the fall of 2024, he was the best iron player by far that fall. And he had an incredible fall, 3 top 10s. And you said it, he won at the Bay Current Classic. It was a Zozo at the time. But then last season, 5th in strokes gained putting. And so you see just this gradual improvement with Nico throughout his bag. But I think you go all the way back to that rookie year and just the lumps that he took. Any player that misses 23 cuts is obviously a player that is resilient. Like, nobody knows what that feels like. I know what it feels like to miss 12 straight cuts. You can lose confidence quick. You can start chasing your tail. And Nico somehow was able to get through it all. And now he's a 3-time PGA Tour winner.
Well, and it's so interesting because there are just going to be some players that naturally, by virtue of what they do well or they don't do well, are going to be high variance guys. So you're speaking to the mentality there, which obviously is a huge, huge thing for them. And I mean, just look at this year. He's got 2 top 10s, one of those is a win, and 4 missed cuts. What do you see when his game escapes him? What is it that is it just a little bit loose on the ball striking? Because the putting, as you mentioned, it looked great today. And if you finish 5th for a season long on the PGA Tour the year before, that's an indicator of real consistency with the flat stick. But like, is it just he kind of gets a little loose off the tee with the ball striking, and that's where you get these missed cuts?
He reminds me a lot, different games, but his mentality and his ability to close reminds me of Nick Taylor. When he gets around the lead, it just feels like he's not going to go anywhere. And anytime he's not won on the PGA Tour and come up just short, he's hit all the right shots. He made the putts that he's needed to make, and he just looks like he's comfortable there. Some guys don't look like they're comfortable coming down the stretch. He feels like he's a flatliner and honestly plays with passion. I really love how passionate he is when he makes big putts, hits chips.
Fist bump on 17 is awesome. Love that.
Just Colombian flair that he has with his game that I think is what serves him well coming down the stretch. I think he wants the ball in his hands, and just goes to show that, it's not easy to do that.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too, and what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago? How much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Well, I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here. I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
You just saw of Shane Lowry, a guy who's, I don't know where he's going to end up in his career, whether he's going to be like a Hall of Fame player at the end of his career, if he wins some more majors, who knows? But he knew what was behind him, and he just kept peppering fairways, peppering greens, and giving himself an opportunity. And that takes it takes discipline to do that, because it's easy to start firing at flags. And he just stayed patient, which is hard to do at PGA National when you want to win on the PGA Tour.
Going a little bit further down the board and on the topic in some ways of putting, Brooks Koepka this week. I've actually not checked the updated leaderboard. Last I saw him, he was tied for 9th.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was his finishing position, but that's his 3rd start on the PGA Tour since his reinstatement. Of course, opened at Torrey Pines Farmers Insurance Open, finished tied for 56. He misses the cut at TPC Scottsdale for the WM Phoenix Open. And this week, if you look at the stats for those weeks, we talked about the putting struggles, and he was using a blade for the entirety of the event at Torrey, and then for part of that week at the WM. Or actually, maybe he used a spider the entire week there.
Yeah, he's used a spider ever since he made that adjustment in Phoenix.
So he goes to this mallet, and he was positive strokes gained this week, and
yes.
I think was in the teens in terms of the rank against the field for the entire week. So that's a huge change.
And that's with losing about 2 to 3 strokes on Thursday. He was in the top 10 of putting on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
What'd you see that you liked there? He said he mentioned that going Thursday into Friday, he found something that night, just in terms of alignment maybe, or maybe it's comfort with that mallet. What'd you see that you liked there?
His hands were creeping too far back, so he just got his hands a little bit forward, and that's actually something I've made that adjustment before. And what it helps, it helps arc your stroke a little bit better. He's always kind of had a little bit of a loop, but I do think it helps kind of get the club working better on that arc on the way back. But you'll notice that the ball really starts to get going and rolling, and you feel like you can kind of release it a little bit better. But clearly he made, I think, over 100 feet of putts Friday morning. Finally, I think he made 4 putts outside of 20 feet on Friday morning. And that's kind of the round that he needed, just to see the ball finally go in, just have a day in which the putter was giving him life. When you can't make anything inside of 10 feet, you just feel just hopeless out there. It doesn't matter how good you hit it. So when you kind of combine what we've seen through this entire stretch, I feel very confident heading into the Players' Championship that Brooks could, I don't know if win is the right word, but I think he is closer to putting it all together than he is to, missing multiple cuts coming out. I think he's closer to finding himself around the mix at some of these events coming up.
Yeah, because I think at 2 mid-60s round this week, we will not see him at the Arnold Palmer Invitational, but as you mentioned, we will see him at the Players. And that was a question mark when he was coming back, is like, what version of Brooks Koepka are we going to get? And it is interesting in the context of, the frequency or the lack of frequency of the Live Golf Tour he's coming from, and maybe the lack of, now he hasn't played any of the signature events here, of course, but just the lack of high leverage events you're playing there. Do you think what we're seeing here as he kind of plays his way into form, he could be more of a factor this major season we've seen in past years?
It's, with Brooks, it doesn't take much, right?
Right.
As soon as if he feels healthy, coming out the right windows for him, the putter, like when you have a hot putter, man,
yeah.
I'll tell you what, it opens up the rest of your game to feeling like you don't have to play quite as aggressively with your irons. And I bet he felt that earlier in the year, feeling like I got to aim at these flags. The closer I hit it, the better chance I have of making birdie, which of course that makes sense. But it sure would be nice to hit it to the middle of the green sometimes on some of these holes, not get short-sided and walk away with some bonus birdies. So I feel great about Brooks. We got a fun stretch heading, with the Florida swing, also some events in Texas, assuming that he, plays that whole stretch of could play 4 in a row from Players to Valspar over to Houston and San Antonio. Probably going to be taking off an event somewhere in there. Maybe it's San Antonio would be the one he might take off, but I wouldn't put it past him to win before Augusta.
Wow.
I really think that he could win. Yeah, I 100% think he could win.
Do you like a specific venue? Because I'm trying to think there. Would it be
Houston.
Memorial Park, Houston? Yeah,
Houston. I mean, he's a co-designer, right? He's got to know some secret.
That's an excellent point. I hope that's about as good as you can get on local knowledge. Yeah, I built the place, so I should know where to hit it and where not to hit it. And then another kind of, a big name that, highlights the field, even if he hasn't played his best, the last, year plus, Max Homa, top 20 this week. What do you see there that you liked from the way he, because it's been a lot of different things, right? He's gone back to Mark Blackburn. Last year it was new equipment, whether or not that was overblown. But, like, where are you seeing kind of find consistency and comfort? Because that's one of the things that Mark said on our show is just, like, this guy can battle through it. He's got, like, the mindset to kind of dig deep and grind. And now we're seeing some results. Like, could this be a resurgence in form for Max?
He's getting closer. I wouldn't say he's all the way there yet, but he's definitely inching his way closer. I watched him play Thursday. He shot himself out of the golf tournament on Thursday.
Nick Kurtz will receive American League first place votes this year. You going to buy that, George? Or you want to sell that? I believe we had Caminero, we had Raleigh, we had Aaron Judge.
Bobby Witt, he'll be there as well. I'm a big fan of Kurtz. No, we're not related, by the way, for those who are wondering. Okay, not as far as I know. I keep getting that.
You're a little taller than him.
Right, just a wee bit. Yeah, Nick is a.
Be like this, actually.
I'm not sure Nick would fill in his room. Yeah, that's something like that. But my only problem with him, I think he's gonna have a great year. All right, I think he's gonna have a very good year here. He's gonna be fantastic. I picked 12 in my points league. If he's there at 12, I'm taking him. I'm just grabbing him here. I don't have a second round pick, but I'm taking him anyway. My only issue is this: they're not gonna be very good, right? They may be a little better than expected. Maybe they approach 500, maybe. But it's tough to get MVP votes when you're not winning. All right, you're not in the playoff contention or anything like that. Are you going to be able to beat out an Aaron Judge? I'll buy. I think he's going to have a big season. I think he can get one. I don't think he'll be very, it won't be top 3 right there. But I think he can get one. Yes, I'll buy.
Yeah, I'm going to sell this. I was really I understand what the metric said, and a lot of smart people, George, that I asked told me that Judge probably was the MVP. But man, Cal Raleigh couldn't win MVP with that season that he had last year. And I understand all we're doing is asking questions about first place votes, but don't think there's a lot of love for the voters with Sacramento, no matter what Nick Kurtz does. I'm going to sell this.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Max Homa, top 20 this week. What'd you see there that you liked from the way he, because it's been a lot of different things, right? He's gone back to Mark Blackburn. Last year it was new equipment, whether or not that was overblown. But, like, where are you seeing kind of find consistency and comfort? Because that's one of the things that Mark said on our show is just, like, this guy can battle through it. He's got, like, the mindset to kind of dig deep and grind. And now we're seeing some results. Like, could this be a resurgence in form for Max?
He's getting closer. I wouldn't say he's all the way there yet, but he's definitely inching his way closer. I watched him play Thursday. He shot himself out of the golf tournament on Thursday. Him and Ryan Gerard both did. Both of them, struggled on the greens mightily. Max really struggled with the speed. I was not very encouraged by what I saw with the putting on Thursday. Sure, it was windy. The greens were a little crusty, but just didn't look confident with that club. Obviously putted better the rest of the week. But still, it's that same deal with his irons that I don't think he's quite back to that elite level of being a great iron player. You see moments of it, but what I still continue to see is that balls are not cutting. Like, he's just not trusting that cut sometimes. I see a lot of left misses with irons. And, it's something that he had to battle going from being too out to in. The club was out in front of him, but he was so out to in that all he could play was cuts. They've tried to neutralize that a little bit, talking with Mark Blackburn. And I think the feels are coming closer, but I wouldn't say that Max is quite as ready to go win the Players in a couple weeks or win next week. I think he can definitely string out some top 20s like you're talking about. But it's going to take, I think, that one really, really good ball striking day where it's like, boom, that feel, it just clicked. But it needs to happen at a place like Bay Hill or the Players where it feels like that level of ball striking that's required. Mainly like Bay Hill is a great example. Yeah. Like, you can't fake it around there. And if you're hitting the shots out there and you're hitting 15, 16 greens, that's the type of stuff that is the goods, right? Like, if you're doing that.
Yeah, and Max is headed over to play TGL tonight. Long day for Max.
Can you imagine if Shane had to play TGL tonight?
Oh, wow. And it is the Bay playing tonight. I think it's a Bay.
Can you imagine if he had to go play
How do you think
TGL
that would
tonight?
go? Think we'd get like
I don't
a
think
last
he would
minute
play.
sub?
They would have to go find somebody else.
So, Nico, congrats. You're on the
It
Bay.
doesn't matter how much money they pay him. He would have.
Oh, man.
There's
You'd have
no
to ask out.
world in which he could go play.
Yeah, it's a little bit dicey. I did see this. I don't know if he's actually going to play, but maybe accounting for the potential that Max was gassed, they have Tiger listed on the lineup tonight. Like, I guess we'll know. You're probably watching. You're either watching this on Monday. You already know what happened, or you're watching this right as we're airing this, and TGL's on right now.
I got enough going on to keep up with what's going on. Sunday night TGL match, man.
You mentioned Gerard. I did want to talk happy hour because I thought that was delightful having FP. Fit Perez, Slim Perez,
how about the guy? He's lost 90 pounds, is what he told me.
And Gerard, ever since we had him on our show, there was sort of this delightful, we know he's a great guy, but just watching his personality kind of more and more come out, and that the line about iguanas and alligators was just and dodging the bird. Like, I thought that was so much fun. I just want to get your sort of take your recap on a happy hour here that a lot of people really enjoyed.
Man, it was he was making the rounds on Thursday after he almost smoked that bird, and I had just shown up. Like, we just got live with their group at 7 Green, so they had hit their shots, and I was kind of far away to really see what happened. But I saw the video a couple minutes later, and I was like, "Whoa, did he smoke a bird?" And I just not noticed. But wait, how did it get to the green? Because you couldn't really see the crow.
Yeah,
and it's actually called something other than a crow, but we're gonna just call it a crow because
it's those the same
G or something.
Yeah, there's like the same blackbirds that we saw. There are a lot of them around here. I don't know what they are, but they're very loud.
They're
very
so
loud.
funny, man. He compared this bird. It did it like an Adrian Peterson of birds avoiding the divot. It was hysterical, man. He was great. The combination of those two guys was a lot of fun. Thought they added a lot. Just trying to draw a little bit to that YouTube crowd that's obviously people watch, Bob's at Sports and Fat Perez all the time. So fun to have him up. Gerard was great, especially just getting into, his unique story and his golf.
That's right.
He's just a golf Ned, man. Just loves it.
And also, how about his they're never teammates, but his fellow Tar Heel, David Ford, the adventure on Thursday.
Wow. Yeah. That was insane.
I mean, he didn't even use it. So just for, if you didn't see it at the Bear Trap, he bogeys the par 3 15th. He bogeys the 16th after finding the water. he makes a quad on the par 3 17th after trying to play out of
He was 7 over in 5 holes
twice. And then he did not use a putter between the second. He used a putter on 1 and a putter on 5 because he hooped it from the fairway for eagle on 2. Did it again on 3, and then had a bunker shot for par on 4 and made that.
Yeah, it was like a 45-minute span
So
where he
good.
never pulled his putter out.
Just fantastic stuff.
which is great. Yeah, it was a wild Thursday, really, from the Bird, avoiding alligators in the mud, the David Ford story, and then also Taylor Moore that same day almost broke Matt Fitzpatrick's record for around the green statistic. So it's around like 4.5 in one day is like the record, and that's what Fitzy has.
Wow.
And Taylor Moore almost did it on Thursday, man. And the disparity between Taylor Moore and the rest of the field and his around the green stats was stupid this week. Like heading into today, he had gained 6 shots around the greens. The next best was like 3. So just that disparity was just
Well, and he
was
needed
stupid.
it because off the tee, I mean, he only hit like a third of his fairways the whole week.
Yeah, he wasn't driving it so good. And that's where I would say PGA National wasn't quite
As
PGA National.
yeah.
Like we're inching our way back as far as getting the rough a little bit higher. But in years past, if you drive it like that, you're not going to be able to get away with it. And I think he got away with a lot this week off the tee. Now, give him a ton of credit. Obviously, gritting out a T2 with the way he drove it this week is phenomenal because I think he was second to last heading into today in accuracy of guys that made the cut. Which you wouldn't think would work out here, but he managed it obviously well and chipped his putted and hit some really high quality iron shots and played what he did so well this week. He played the par 3s better than anybody, which if you do that well here, you deserve to have a good week.
So just before we kind of wrap and start to move over to the Arnold Palmer Invitational, you're just on the record. You like harder PGA National.
Yes.
Is that correct?
I do.
We need to bring
I do.
some teeth back to it. Okay.
I do. And I don't know what's going to happen with this event. I don't think anybody does. It's a bit of a shell of what it used to be, from the field to the build out to the crowds. But still, it doesn't deter away from what this place delivered this week. And everybody around the compound was saying the same thing. Who cares who's playing? There's going to be magic that happens down the stretch. And when I saw what the wind was going to be doing heading into today, I knew we were destined for something that was going to be a lot of fun. I didn't think it was going to be this fun.
Yeah, I mean,
for Nico, not for Shane.
yeah. But I think for fans, I mean, I think that's the thing that, you know, if you're going to take a wider view on this. So, you know, we talk about product on a week in, week out basis. We talk about venues, you know, and there are, well, I understand why a player would say, hey, I don't want to get beat up 4 straight weeks in a row. Or I just want to get beat up in general.
Man. It's just, it's tough.
You really got to balance that with fans like seeing carnage. I mean, obviously these are the best players in the world, and so fans at home want to see the best players in the world have to deal with a little adversity from time to time, or some difficult, you know, grainy Bermuda lies or whatever that might be. And so I think that venues like this are important, you know, to elevate or to keep in rotations, because you can see things happen that you would never expect to see from the best players in the world, and fans really relish and enjoy that,
especially with what equipment is now in this day and age for modern players and how far they hit the golf ball. It's tough to find enough venues that provide the theater in which we saw today.
Can you contrast this a little bit with one that we know well from previous PGA Tour stops that's back on the calendar this year? You know, we're going to go down to Miami, you know, about an hour and a half away, and play Doral for a Cadillac Championship that's a signature, you know, it's going to be a signature event. And just the difficulty that's going to provide.
It's going to be just as good.
Do you think, as we kind of reformat this schedule, you know, can these two events live on the same schedule?
I don't know. You know, if they're talking about an 18 to 20 event schedule, where does this one fit in that? I sure hope it does, because I think it would revitalize this event. I think it needs just that sign off of like, this is awesome, this is great theater. Let's lean into what is like one of the best stretches on the PGA Tour.
Michigan at a 57% chance right now, followed by Arizona, Duke, and Houston. Here's the interesting caveat, Joe, for Michigan, who's the favorite right now. On February the 8th at 5 a.m., they were trading at 40%. Today, 57%. People like themselves some Michigan here.
Well, Donnie, exactly, because Michigan, it just vaulted themselves to number one in the AP poll.
Prediction Markets Edge. Only on SportsGrid.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio. Only on SportsGrid.
I have my own account. I don't need to have any. He didn't say any of that. So I'm of the belief that if someone accuses you of something and you don't deny it, there's a reason you didn't deny it. Because you kind of feel like they got me. And yes, I'm not going to tell you I did it, but I did it. Yeah. Don't you think so?
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Yeah, and with the Clippers, Craig, it feels like Kawhi is on an island. We saw him ball out in the All-Star game the other day. Kawhi was very impressive, and he's had a fantastic season. I think when you look at the Clippers, if the Clippers' record was better, but he's still a James Harden, you would be talking about Kawhi as an MVP candidate. He's been one of the best players in the league in terms of how he's been playing. He's been fantastic.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid.
Now, when we the other piece I want to ask you on this reformatted schedule is, and particular to this event, is if you start later, if they're like, this was the 7th event of the calendar, right? And a lot of guys, Pearson Coody, for example, played all 6 because he played so well in the first 4. He got into the next 2 that were signature events. If you start later and this is the 3rd event on the calendar or the 4th event on the calendar instead of the 7th, do you think guys say, oh, I'm willing to play a few more in a row and then go into Arnold Palmer Invitational? I know this is all theoretical, but I'm just trying to kind of think about, here's where we are now. Here's what we like about it. Here's where we could be going. If it's guys that maybe some of those guys don't want to play Phoenix, they want to play Amex or whatever it is, and this is like their 2nd or 3rd start of the year, do you think you get more guys that way?
I don't know. I'm not like super for, just 100 guys playing the same event week after week.
Interesting.
I like the additional storylines that you get in a week like this. A player like Taylor Moore has everything to play for, playing on conditional status. Like, let's say Joel Damon goes and wins this week. Like, I love those storylines, and that's what the PGA Tour, for me, is all about, is giving guys opportunities to play. And I know it goes against like what good business is.
Yeah,
that's one of the things that they're trying to balance, is how we can have the most successful PGA Tour business model with having the most eligible playing opportunities for these guys to be able to make a living, and shrinking those opportunities. I'm not necessarily for. I think there's a blend of it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to just go all the way and just cut it all off to where, we're seeing the same guys every single week, and you're just not getting those incredible storylines. So I think it should always be on the schedule. Sony as well. These are great venues that deserve to be tested by. It doesn't matter if it's the best players in the world. I want to see PGA Tour players playing at these spots.
To play it forward to the signature event that we're headed to next in Orlando, Bay Hill, the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Here is your next 10 as far as the latest projections are concerned. Jake Knapp, who's playing about as good as he can play right now. Nico Echavarria, of course, just won here today. Minwoo Lee, Pearson Coody, Ryo Hisatsune, Adam Scott, Aldrich Potgieter, Austin Smotherman, who also played well this week, Matt McCarty, and Sahith Theegala. Narrowly missing are Patrick Rogers and Nikolai Højgaard. Nico played great to kind of close out this week as well, and Taylor Moore just narrowly misses as well. And then if we go down to the swing 5, well, actually, I should have held my thoughts for that, because top of the swing 5 is Nikolai Højgaard, so he gets in that way. and Patrick Rogers and Taylor Moore, the three that were like the first three out. In addition to Keith Mitchell was the fourth out, and then the fifth there being Andrew Putnam. So how about that list?
I love the next 10 in the Swing 5.
I do too.
And that's
I do too.
why these events are so important, to give guys opportunities to play. So I think that just kind of answers your question about what I think about this event and where it stands.
And I think credit where credit's due. You know, we there's been a lot of, you know, schedule changes, you know, format changes, field size changes that have been head scratching. You know, how you know, Matt McNeely coming in and smoothing out the points given on certain events because there was an unfair balance. So this is, of all the changes that the tour's made, this has been a really good one to create those pathways into some of these events.
I still can't believe what happened today, man.
It's still kind of hard to.
I just can't get over the tee shot at 16.
So
I can't get over
tee shot 16 because those are both. I mean, if you're looking at like the strokes gain categories, or you know, or just the stats from like 180 to 200. I know that club is a little longer on that tee, but like Shane,
you're in a 250 shot.
But I'm saying just like long iron.
Yeah,
Shane's one of the best long iron players on tour. He has hit 2 back to back, right? And to have those misses be that bad,
nobody hit in the water.
Just nerves out of sync.
Not one of the 67 players hit it in the water at 16. Not one, except Shane Lowry, the guy with the 3-shot lead. Yeah, I credit it all to just a lapse of concentration. Maybe he wasn't nervous, but something happened to where he made an uncommitted golf swing because Shane Lowry knows better than to hit it there. Like you can duck hook it.
Yeah.
You can hit it anywhere left, and then you just can't do what he did there because you had to lay up the next one. Just the swing at 17 doesn't bother me as much as the tee shot at 16 because that can happen at 17. That ball gets, you know, elevated tee, ball gets up in the air, and somehow it gets, you know, it's just a hard shot. But the tee shot on 16 wasn't.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, and I'm sure, you know, it's going to take some time to make sense of that for Shane. But
he's gonna be gutted, man, gutted.
Yeah, well, at least he's not having to go suit up tonight on national television, so that's good for him. I had a few more, Smylie, I wanted to get to wrap the show here because the USGA was busy yesterday on Saturday. They had a whole bunch of announcements that we need to kind of like talk about. This, some venues, some future venues, some renaming of awards, and I just wanted to read a few of these to you. Okay, so Inverness Club in Toledo, Ohio. Yeah, I know the sunset. The sunset does look kind of nice there on the screen there. We had a lot of production work we had to do to get this thing right, and I'm still not sure how it's going to come out, but I'm quite happy with the changing light thus far. So Inverness will host the 2045 U.S. Open. It was also announced they're hosting the 2023 or 2033. The 2045 U.S. Open.
I'm gonna go and put that in my calendar now.
Yeah, we'll keep that calendar open because you're gonna have a lot to write in here. National Golf Links of America 2040 Walker Cup. Cypress Point will host the 2042 Curtis Cup and the 2048 Walker Cup, and then Seminole Golf Club will host the 2046 Curtis Cup and the 2052 Walker Cup. So a lot of
2052.
Yeah, like will we be around? Who knows? I mean, if we're still doing the podcast in 2052. We'll see.
I'll be 61, dude. They're announcing things when I'll be 61 years old.
It's a long ways. And then the last.
Think I'll be any good at that point?
I mean, you might be in the Champs Tour at that point.
That's a good point.
But that assumes the Champs Tour is still around at that point. It could be something entirely different.
Oh man, you saw me hit some drivers the other day. I'm sneaky dialed in with that club.
Yeah. Do we want to kind of zag here and talk a little bit about the week that was in South Florida?
Let's talk golf.
Because
we got a lot of things coming up, but let's talk about what all we've been up to.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. Let's start with we used to do this chronologically. Is that let's start with going out to CT, Tony Ruggiero, the dew sweeper himself.
Shout out to Tony, Old Palm.
At Old Palm.
Great hospitality always.
And listen, you know, we've documented, we're very, we like to poke fun at ourselves. You know, I'm very open about the wedge shanks that I went through. Smiley's very open about the hi-ya. This driver was dialed.
Oh, I thought you were going into our chipping.
Whoa, oh, well, we can.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too, and what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago? How much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Well, I ended up adding this since our show started here, Rohit, but his points prop tonight at 20.5 is the same number from the Iowa State game. That's a bit of a mistake, right? When we consider the gap in opponents here. I think Peterson specifically steps up. He needs to. I think he kind of owes this team a great performance.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
If I can not be in Peter Pan line for an hour and Winnie the Pooh for an hour, to where I can go meet Goofy for a minute. I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
Which princess is like
Belle.
give me like the Mount Rushmore of Tinkerbell, is it? What's Anna Carter's princess Mount Rushmore right now?
Ooh, she would go Belle, Anna, and she'd probably end up throwing Elsa in there. She'd probably go Anna and Elsa, but Belle would be definitely number one.
Belle's number one.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's a good list. Drop your Disney princesses Mount Rushmore in the comments, please, so we can get some other takes on that. Okay, Smylie. I think.
Oh wait, what was your favorite thing about Indian Creek? Just the golf course.
Oh my goodness. All right. So it's a William Flynn golf course that was restored recently by Andrew Green, and my brother and I were having this conversation in the golf cart because he's comparing it to other golf courses like around here in Lost Tree where my mom has a home. It's like a Jack Nicklaus golf course, right? And so there are a lot of elements that are Florida golf that are similar, Bermuda, Fast Firm, things like that.
That's great. That's how you want it.
But Lost Tree is definitely, it's a more modern golf course, like built by Jack Nicklaus, has a lot of distinctive Nicklaus features. Whereas like this, first of all,
are there homes around Indian Creek?
Dude, it is so. There are homes. I remember there are homes on the course, but it's like it's so away. Wild. You're sitting like on an island.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
On Miami Beach, and you're looking around. You can see like it's North Beach, but like you can see like skyscrapers or high rise buildings on the horizon one way. You can look over across like the waterway and see like Miami downtown.
So it's not a residential golf course.
Which
is a problem in Florida.
Well, I'm trying to think like there were kind of homes, but like I'll give you a great example. They have this amazing par 3, the 12th, that's right on the water.
Is that the one you sent?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like a waterway, but like so you're looking across at like all these boats and slips on the side, and like you're seeing homes, but they're not on the golf course. They're like across a waterway.
Wow.
And it just like the views were stunning, and there were so many holes that had like great character for a course that, not that you wouldn't expect it, but like the 7th hole is this cool little short par 4 dog leg right, where they're like, it's bunkering kind of down the right side of the fairway, and it theoretically could be drivable, or you could push a driver way up there, but you could get in a really bad position in like a long bunker shot out of a fairway bunker if you didn't really thread the needle. And then because the dog leg's right, you kind of want to hit it straight. You get like a hybrid or a long iron, driving iron. But if you turn that thing over left, you're stuck in the trees and you're completely shut out there. So then if you hit it, if you kind of hit the conservative,
what would you compare it to? I think that's the one thing that I would take away from it. Because I have no idea what holes you're talking about.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to describe like the characteristic of like elevated greens, good bunkering, protecting the front of the greens, like some slender
run up
narrow
areas
greens
are encouraged.
Dude, I don't have like an immediate comp off the top of my head for Indian Creek. I really don't.
That's good then.
It's unique, and it's like, and there are a couple holes along the water.
Is it meant to play on the ground? Like, is it?
You definitely can. It's well. But it's interesting because like there are definitely run-ups, but like the way a lot of these greens are elevated and bunkered, you really got to hit you got to hit like a proper, like, if you're going to hit like a runner up there, and many of them did, those things are elevated. Like you got to really get the weight right. How much,
You played Old Memorial?
No, I've not played Old Memorial. That's in Tampa. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I see me right now.
Look at you.
The TV.
Oh, how about
See
that?
Purple shirt?
There he
We're
is.
on camera.
On camera, we're on camera.
Like 250 yards away. That's the beginning of the show of, I guess, Golf Channel rerun.
I'd say I just closed this like, do it. Find some time that week in Miami.
I definitely want to.
Got to go play it. It's
Definitely
a really cool
to.
course.
I guarantee you that Doral event won't live up to what we just witnessed today, though.
Yeah. Well, let's hope. Here's to hoping. That's it. That's it for us this week on the Smylie Show, or not this week, just for this episode, because as promised, Justin Thomas on Wednesday, and then we're in the Players Championship week, and we're going to have one show's recap in the API, and then we're going to have another preview show with Smylie and I back together from Ponte Vedra. So we're excited about that, to get everyone fired up for that event.
And shout out to Kashmir Keith for giving me a top 10 and one and done. Ryan Gerard giving a respectable week for Charlie. I think he wanted more. I think you burned him too early.
How about
I got him in Valspar?
Oh, hold on now, though.
Boom.
How about me throwing out Ricky Castillo?
That's a good pick.
And
That's a good answer. That's a good answer.
Castillo's sniffing around today, and I was like, golly, I've done that so many weeks now. So, well, yeah, that's right. We'll be back on Wednesday with one and done picks. So, hope you enjoy all that, and enjoy your Peter Pan costume and or Mickey Mouse ears tomorrow. Someone go try to find Smylie at Disney World.
See you, everybody.
We'll see you next week on the Golf Channel. This has been The Smylie Show.
I listen to this podcast. It's really cool. And
all of our level fans and subscribers, but make sure you like and subscribe.
It's cool to see what you guys are doing. I know golf fans appreciate it, but we do too, so please keep it up.
For all the good people at YouTube, like and subscribe.
You guys have some good takes, so I'm happy to come on and shoot the...
I know that Florida lost at home to Auburn, and it's a real thing that happened. So you can't strike it from the record. But if you did, I think Florida's looked like the best team in college basketball for about 2 months. And I think there are a bunch of results that suggest that.
College basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Class is in session. Today, let's talk about the teaser. A teaser is a multi-leg bet where you shift the point spread in your favor. You get better numbers, but every selection has to win. It doesn't matter what you bet if you don't have the insights. Tune into SportsGrid and get ahead of the class.
How much do you think tanking is hurting the NBA right now, too? And what we're seeing, like we saw with that Jazz and Orlando game a week ago, how much do you think that's hurting the game?
I can't wait until professional sports in the United States adopts a European model, especially like a Premier League model, and they start doing relegation. The day you start doing relegation, everything changes. Everything will change.
Outspoken with Dan Cilio, only on SportsGrid.
Michigan at a 57% chance right now, followed by Arizona, Duke, and Houston. Here's the interesting caveat, Joe, for Michigan, who's the favorite right now. On February the 8th at 5 a.m., they were trading at 40%. Today, 57%. People like themselves some Michigan here.
Well, Donnie, exactly, because Michigan, it just vaulted themselves to #1 in the AP poll.
Prediction Markets Edge, only on SportsGrid.